Hey, welcome back. So this is going to be part 4 in kind of my discussion on preparing. And so on this part, I do want to talk about other ways to prepare yourself, like paperwork, medical, those kind of things. Just some things that we have done and how to make sure that you have your information, things are up to date. So there had been some talk about a bill being introduced where in order to vote, your name needed to match your birth certificate. All of your paperwork needed to match. And really who this would affect is going to be married women. So I did not change my name when I got married. My birth certificate matches my social security number, matches my driver's license, matches my passport. But there is no question there. Everything matches. So that is something may or may not come into fruition, but again is another way to control women. And those are things that take a long time to change. So that is something to think about. My license was going to expire in April. I renewed it last month for 8 years. I have my license until 2033. I'm going to be mid 40s when it expires. Hopefully get us through some things here. My passport's good for 5 years. I have multiple copies of my birth certificate. I have my social security card. My son, I have his social security card. I have multiple copies of his birth certificate, and we are going to go get his passport tomorrow. Children's passports are good for 5 years. All 3 of us will expire at the same time. But that way we have it. So we might not need it. I would rather have it and not need it than not have it at all. Some other things, of course, for women, if you are in a place in your life where you can get an IUD. There are certain IUDs that last for 8 to 10 years. I also track through ovulation, which there's concerns there. On the fertility apps, I use Fertility Friend, which so far is based in Europe, not going to share our information. Who knows? Who knows what is going to happen? So a lot of people are going back to tracking on your calendar, using your kind of basic code, those kind of things. So that's a hard one for me to kind of make a decision on what I would like to do. You know, eventually getting your tubes tied, husband getting a vasectomy, those kind of things. How can you protect yourself for the future? The unfortunate parts of being a woman is some of those decisions are not always made for us. So how can we help ourselves? And that is why having an extra giant box of pregnancy tests, buying the plan B, I've got something on hand. If I don't need it, maybe I can help somebody else if that time ever comes. The other thing that I have done is our vaccines. Of course, with the Department of Health and the discussion going on about vaccines, I am a huge proponent. Give me all of the vaccines. They exist for a reason. They have saved people's lives. I will take them. I am also lucky enough that I don't get overly tired. I don't have a strong immune response. Those kind of things. My child has done well. So when he turned 4 in December, there are vaccines that you get between 4 and 7. 7 years old. We got them at 4 years and 2 weeks. So he is covered until he is 7, other than our annual COVID and flu vaccine. Again, I am also fully up to date for the next 6 years until other than my annual flu and COVID. I have masks that I have bought and set aside. I have always worn masks when I feel remotely sick, somebody in my family is sick, those kind of things. I still wear the medical mask. Being in a medical field during COVID, I have no problem wearing masks. Perfectly fine. Keep everybody safe. We worked in each other's faces. I don't want to breathe on people. Although that is not my same work situation, I do work with elderly people, very young people, so I just want to keep everybody safe. If somebody, one of my employees is sick, they go home. One of our volunteers is sick, they go home. Don't get other people sick. And so we have the regular medical masks, but then I do also have KN95s. I have not gotten any of the ventilated N95s. I did get some KN95s for my son. We checked that they fit his face, just kind of work on getting him comfortable with that. But that way I have them stashed, set aside. We are keeping our cats indoor this year. We are not opening our catio. We do still need to cover our chickens to keep them away from wild birds, since we are in a migratory area. But different things that we don't know what this next year is going to hold. So how can we protect ourselves? If we have to, we are 2 hours from the Canadian border, so that's something that I would look into as far as if there's a vaccine I can't get here, maybe I can get it in Canada. Again, we are lucky with that I am so close to the border that is a potential option. And again, another reason why we need our son to also have a passport, so that if we need to go to Canada, even, I mean, gosh, we had every pass closed to try and get over to the Seattle area, and we ended up having to go all the way down to the Washington-Oregon border along the Columbia River, and it took us 12 hours to get up and around. You know, there are options if we went up into Canada and drove over and back down. So it just gives us a little more wiggle room if we need to, for us to all have that information. You know, our pets, I also made sure that everybody got their 3-year vaccines, of course for rabies, but their upper respiratory vaccines. Our dog, she gets, you know, the distemper parvo, the lepto, the bordetella. Lepto and bordetella are just 1-year vaccines, but those ones are easy to boost. She also gets a rattlesnake, since we live in rattlesnake country. I usually just get 2 of those every year. We're so far away from everything. I just want to make sure everybody's safe. So luckily nobody in our family has ever had any issues, any large immune response to anything. So I am all for, those are things to keep us up to date. We just had our 6-month checkup for dental, got my teeth cleaned. My son got his teeth cleaned for the first time. They just did the polisher, but just where are we at? What do we need? And how can we keep ourselves on track or ahead? I am due for my annual eye exam, but my contact prescription is good for 2 years. I am just buying another year of contacts. I don't really have concerns right now as far as my vision goes. I have had the same prescription for 8 years now, so I'm not concerned about that at all. Again, my son, they didn't want to see him until he was 5, so letting my husband deal with his stuff. I do all the pets, I do myself, I do my son. I did a gentle reminder that I think he was due for his dentals around the same time as we are, so I let him decide on those things. But the rest of them I can take care of. I can make appointments, get everybody, make sure we're up to date. So I don't think that I have missed anything as far as those go, but I do feel like those are also important preparations, especially with the potential. I mean, obviously they have scrubbed the CDC of information. The CDC is not releasing any new information about the bird flu. If you didn't catch it, there was one article that got put on their website and then immediately deleted. But there are subreddits online that they are archiving the information that has been on the CDC, the Department of Health. I have signed up for alerts for the basically equivalent in Canada and in the UK, and then as well as updates through the WHO. So trying to keep those things up to date. But, you know, the one that got released on the CDC, I think, was potential transmission between cats and owner, cats and cats. So cats seem to be really susceptible. So we have 3 and they will stay inside and we will not catch any birds this year. We do have an enclosed catio under our deck, and the one cat, the 2 kittens, they're a 1.5 years old, but we got them at 4 weeks. They were left in a box in the alley. My poor older cat has tried so hard to train them, and they don't know what they're doing. But the older cat, who she's 12, she gets her senior blood work on Tuesday. I think she's getting a little spacey, but she's a tough girl, man. She beats up this giant boy right here. She puts him in his place. Anyway, she has caught, besides birds, multiple snakes, lizards, a couple of bats. There was one time I was on the floor upstairs with my son at like 7 months old, and kitten comes running up the stairs with a live bat, and I was able to puff with a blanket and then wrap it up and call my husband to get our son and put it in a carrier and call. And it had been really smoky. So I did take, at the time, what did we have? We had 2 cats and 2 dogs. Everybody went and got their rabies vaccine booster because I had no idea how long she'd had it. So they all got their booster. The bat seemed fine. We just closed up the catio, put it under the deck to roost, and it was gone by the next morning. It was really smoky. But yeah, she did that 2 days in a 2 or 3 twice. Anyway, she did it all within the same week, and that's when we called the health department about it. They mostly got confused in the smoke, so I did end up getting mothballs that you hang up under the deck to deter them. It never happened again. I never put the mothballs up. I'm pretty sure they're still in my laundry room storage. But if there's anything that you have that you know as far as preparations for paperwork, for medical, that I have missed, feel free to put those in the comments. I really appreciate you being here.